We're going to try to sync up two different melodies here and make them align next to each other. So I'll just play the material here a little bit for you to hear.
Move that body. Move it like you mean it.
Okay, so clearly you can hear that these two are out of time. And if I had multiple different tracks that needed to be synced, I could use this same methodology that I'm about to show you to sync all the different melodies with each other and to have everything playing in time. So first step is to choose a piece of material that has large and obvious transients. So in this case, I will actually take the trumpet to be our reference material. So the very first step is to create warp markers for the melodies. Now, if you have a long string of melody, like from this position all the way up till somewhere down here, if you have at least 4 bars, you can create the first warp marker and the last warp marker and put them in place of where the start point and the end point is as the first move. Now, I'm just going to have a listen. I'm going to solo this and I'll play it. Okay, so I'm going to now create warp markers for all the other transients here. And I can either do that by just actually pressing the quantize button, which is Command U, and it will create a bunch of warp markers for me. Command Z to undo that. And if you want to do that, you can right click and go to quantize, or you can change the quantize settings. So let's see if I made it 1/8 notes, for example, and I press Command U. These are the rough transients here. Okay, so I'm going to delete the unnecessary transients. The alternative technique would be actually to just manually double click and move a piece of audio around. And now I'm going to shift this audio about to a position that makes sense. Let's hear it with the music. I'm just going to mute the trombone for a second. So let's loop this region.
Move that body.
Once you have your warp markers created, then you can set them into a musical rhythm. Okay, so I want this to probably be in the middle, this to be around here.
Move that body.
So I'm going to settle for this rhythm. Now, if you need to change the grid, you can use the key commands. So the grid is mentioned over here. And now I'm in 1/16 grid. If I want to make it finer divisions, I press Command 1 and I get 1/32, and shorter ones, Command 2 to increase. And if I want a triplet grid, I press Command 3. Okay. And I can change that around. So I'm going to actually just stick to 1/8 notes. Let's have a listen again.
Move that body. Move it like you mean it.
Okay, so I can hear that guitar starts probably around here. So I'm going to just move this back as well. So let's have a listen.
Move that body. Move it like you mean it.
Okay, I'm happy with that. So now that I'm happy with this region, I'm going to click on the track and I'm going to duplicate the track with the audio by pressing Command D. So now I have the same thing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this as, I'm going to press Command R, and I'm going to call it the trumpet reference. Okay. And now I'm going to actually convert this into a new audio file. So I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to crop the clip so that I can keep the positions of the warp markers. So now it's created a new audio file. I can right click here and show in browser, and the reference file is here under the crop section. Now what I could do in the samples folder is I could create a new folder and I can call it reference. And I'm going to take this reference trumpet and chuck it into the reference folder. Now my reference is just meant to be the one which all the other melodies are going to follow the timing of my reference. Okay, so I'm going to rename the track as reference. Okay, so let's use the reference to help us to sync up the timing of the trombone. So I'm going to just zoom in to have a look here. And we can see here on the first one, the first beat lands on 1.3. Okay, so I'm going to create a warp marker here, and I'm just going to drag this up to 1.3. Okay, so that's been moved to the right place. This one, I'm going to change my grid to 1/8 notes again. And now I'm going to bring this back here to the middle position, and I'm going to bring this to 1.4. Okay, so let's hear how these two line up against each other. So I'm just going to highlight this. I'm going to loop this. Let's hear that.
Move that body. Move it. Move that body.
Okay, great. So that is now looking like it's in time. So now in the next part, so we can see that this is out of time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a warp marker, bring it back here, create a warp marker for this, put it on the grid, and bring one here that's on the grid here.
Like you mean it.
So that's how you can get the two melodies to sync up next to each other.